Hi everyone, I'm Shafak. I know I'm heading purchase at Eaton, but throughout my career I've been with engineering and marketing, so that's my first love, and that's why Dr. Pandit doesn't want to release me from the Marketing Congress. I will just be calling people because the panel is large, and I don't want to get all of you annoyed with a long and boring session, so bear with me. So first, I'd like to call Shikha, who's the founder and CEO of Shikha Shik's Marketing Private Limited. Then I would like to call Shalini Baveja, who's the Director Marketing Strategy and ESG at iVents India. Karishma Mehta, who's the VP Marketing and Alliances at Thinkley Media Services Private Limited. Then we have Samir Joshi, who's the founding partner at Sam & Andy. Next, we have Naveen Chandra, who's the founder and CEO of 91 Film Studios. Then we've got Nishit Mathur, who's the head of marketing, alliances, and analyst relations, digital workplace cloud unit at Tata Consultancy Services. Sukrit Ghosh, who's the director, Data Security Council of India. Then we have Shogata Bagchi, global head, digital content and martech at Tata Communications Limited. Then we've got Promit Sanyal, who's the head of marketing at Noldscape Solutions. Then we've got Ankesh Kumar, who's the director of marketing, Ingram Micro India. Then we've got Puneet Kumar, who's the head of brand marketing at Case Construction Equipment. And I think I covered everybody. I think I'll continue to stand here because let the focus be where people are talking. So our topic is about simplicity in strategy, less jargon, more resonance. So let's get started in the interest of time, and I would love it if we have a good engagement here. So this entire panel here, if you look at the skills and the competence that this massive group brings, is with a background of marketing strategy, consultancy. There's entrepreneurs. We've got people from the cybersecurity group, like people who work around that, and also from media and manufacturing. So look at the combination that's there. So my first question goes to Shikha, all right? So Shikha, what have been your learnings about keeping strategy simple while having a scale up with your business? Can you share some thoughts there?
I believe that was the most challenging part because being a marketer for almost 20 years and when I started my own company 2 years back, that was the first challenge, that how to make it simple so that we can scale. So there were 3 things, which of course it took me time to nail it down, but then there were 3 things which actually kept us floating. One was of course the focus, second was clarity, and third was putting systems and processes in place. Now you guys all have to understand that when we talk about marketing, there are so many things which comes into the play, right? Tactics, strategy, execution, etc. And when someone is starting a marketing company, the first thing is what exactly you guys do, right? So for us, that okay, we do content, we do email marketing, we do ABM, we do online advertising, we do SEO, we do everything. So then that was the first challenge for us as a group, that what is the focus? So we brought it down that, okay, we are a demand generation company, right? So that was my first challenge. The second was the clarity. So of course the founding and the leadership team understands this because of course this is from where it has come out. But you have to make your team realize that this is the clarity, don't deviate from the focus, this is the clear picture. So in each of my calls, whether it was a daily sprint or our weekly calls, bi-weekly or whenever we were meeting, so that was my second challenge, that every time I have to hammer it down, clarity, this is what we do, this is what we do, this is what we do. And third was of course, in the world of course, AI, or you can say, I've got a team of around 5 people. So then how to bring the focus and clarity with the help of the system and processes. So that was the third challenge, which we were able to spearhead with the help of certain systems, guidelines, and processes. And that's what make us the MarTech company which we are right now. So
Okay.
focus, clarity, and systems. That's it. It sounds cliche, but that's the core of it.
Super. Simple the better. Yeah, so my next question is for Shalini. And you know, when Shalini and I, we met outside at the lounge, and I was very intrigued with the kind of work that she does. So I would really want Shalini to tell us a little about that. And Shalini, ESG is full of terminologies. You need to really help, you know, some top tips on simplification and execution. Share some light.
Okay, so ESG, of course, is a new common corporate buzzword. Sounds very complex, sounds very technical. And the fact is that when I'm coming from an industry which is complex itself, explaining ESG becomes even more difficult. So we are dealing with, of course, marketing strategy, the corporate strategy, and now suddenly you have ESG strategy to deal with. So many complex terminologies, and to make life difficult, ESG jumps in with net zero and materiality and scope 1 and scope 2 and scope 3. Life just gets more and more difficult. And incidentally, I'm working with a company which is undergoing a merger. So two companies, in case you've heard of LeasePlan and ALD, two large corporate mobility players have come together to form Avens. Avens is a new brand name, so there's a new brand name that we're dealing with. And the ambition of this new company is to be a sustainable global mobility player. So sustainability becomes core to our business. And when you're bringing sustainability into a business of mobility, it's important that not only the board members or the management teams understand ESG or sustainability well, the message has to transcend down to the last person who's probably even sitting at the reception. Right? So how do you simplify this complex web of terminologies for people to really understand? Right? So as marketers and as strategists, it is more than our duty to really make it simple and make it more understandable for people. And how will that be explainable is for an employee, what matters? It's the daily decisions that the employee is taking that is going to impact his work, his tomorrow. For customers, it's the solutions that are going to be very responsible for their future or for their tomorrow. For investors, it's going to be responsible products and solutions that's going to, bring in big time value for the industry or for the segment or the nations or the world, right? So when it transcends down to simple messaging, ESG becomes far more easier to understand. Right, so for a business like us, like ours, where we are talking about corporate car leasing, that's what the business we are into, and with sustainability at play, it's actually about, first of all, raising the capital to be able to buy cars. And these cars have to be low emission cars because we're talking about sustainability and we're talking about, let's say, electric vehicles. So capital to buy the electric vehicles, being able to set values for these cars, and at the end of the term, when the cars come to their full life, what is going to be the future of these cars, right? So is there going to be a circularity involved in that? Will there be a second life of lease that's going to happen? What's going to happen to the battery, for example? Is there going to be a battery after life? Is there going to be a responsible disposition of this battery at the end of it? So there is this whole dialoguing that is involved when it comes to ESG. So when we talk about strategies, it has to be very common language which is applicable to business, and where the employees know their role as to what role they are playing. So if somebody is building the Taj Mahal and somebody is carving the stone, and this person knows he's building Taj Mahal, he will say, I'm building Taj Mahal and not carving the stone. Right? So it's very important that when we send out these messages or we set a plan or a framework, it's important to transcend this messaging in very simple terms as to what role are we going to play to build that larger vision or to achieve that larger dream.
Thank you, Shalini. And I really liked what you said. It's about cascading all of this from top to the nth level. I think that's where the empathy and the understanding really goes. And speaking of ESG, I don't know how many of us are really aware of the SDG. Yeah, Sustainable Development Goals. And when we use jargons like these, like the acronyms, I think it just kind of complicates and triggers our mind to understand that, oh my God, it's so difficult. How many of us really knew that number 5 and 17? SDG. So number 5 is about gender equality, all right, and number 17 is about partnerships. So relevant to what we are talking right now. Thank you for sharing light. Okay, my next question is for Karishma. And so we met outside and we were talking about how do we build, the content while we speak over here. And I'm going to ask Karishma about content, all right? So there's a lot of content clutter. ChatGPT, Perplexity. I think all of us use some tool or the other, and every one of us has become authors, and we've got these scripts coming up on LinkedIn and Insta and Facebook, which is so obvious that these are the handles and the tools that we're using to create content. But Karishma, my question to you, so there's clutter everywhere, all right? How would you simplify, all right, the content that you choose for a very apt marketing strategy?
Sure, fair. Just a quick recap. I am VP Strategy, Marketing and Alliances for Thinkly. Thinkly is basically a knowledge platform. So, when you're looking at the content space and, you're up against the LinkedIns and the Instas and the YouTubes of the world, right? So, how do you make a dent there? So, and being literally employee number one after the founders, it was a massive challenge for us. So, we were very clear that the first principle that we'll follow is, can we give them undeniable relevance because it is content, and we're literally bombarded with so much of content, let it be videos, blogs, so on and so forth, and create value. So with this cornerstone, we went back to the drawing board, and the interesting thing is, when you're building something new, your 8-year-old at home and an 80-year-old that you bump into in a party will come back with thoughts and features for you. But the most important thing is, what do you choose to do, and what's your target audience? So we went back and we said that today there is content clutter, but are we happy with it as users ourselves? So that's when we decided that, can we give our customer world-class content? The first thing we thought of is MIT and Harvard, right? All of us are enamored, and rightly so. It talks about credibility, talks about trust. So we went ahead and partnered with 60 global publications. Like I mentioned, MIT, Harvard, Fast Company, INC, Quartz, all of their content comes onto Thinkly. The next thing we did is got the writings of 50 Nobel laureates and 120 heads of state. So something like a piece by Rishi Sunak, Shashi Tharoor, Joseph Stiglitz. He's a Nobel laureate himself. And with that, I personally approached Mr. Gurcharan Das. And I went there and I told him that, this is our ethos and this is what we're building, sir. And it was very nice of him, and luckily, touchwood, he came on board. And honestly, that created a ripple effect for us, wherein, we had world-class content and we had thought leaders like him. And then, pretty much Mr. Ravi Venkatesan, who's the ex-chairman of Microsoft, Mr. Sunil Dutt, who is the president of Jio, people like them came on board. And then Thinkly had trust, had credibility, and we were very clear that we were an interest-led platform. So as soon as you picked up an interest, you were served content just, on that interest category. So, and what we do next is also looking at our editorial team. So we have an editorial team which is led by an ex-journalist, and what we serve the customer is hence a very beautiful experience, and we speak to them very often. What they like about us is that we are focused, we cut the clutter, and we give them what they want. So I think at the heart of any marketing strategy, especially for a startup who's not flushed with funds. I'm also, coming from a background in, been in luxury retail, diamond jewelry, handling, crores of budgets. And then suddenly, you don't have money. How do you speak to your customer? So you have to be very smart about it. And then you make your right strategic moves, and that's where your audience comes in. And then it's honestly referrals, word of mouth, and hopefully people like you who are our audience who come on to Thinkly. Yeah.
Yeah. Karishma, thank you so much. And, so in whatever you've said, it didn't just talk about simplification of content, but I think you touched upon a very important piece, which is ethos. And that really resonates with me, and I'm sure it resonates with a lot of other people, because I think it's like an overlying umbrella for the kind of culture that you're driving around customer centricity and driving, your initiatives with a lot of empathy. And I think that is how you serve that long-term relationship that we just spoke of, where you're not just solving a problem for them, but you're sort of engaging with your customer irrespective with an association. Wonderful, that's amazing, thank you so much. So my next question is for Samir, we call him Sam. So he's a founder and a consultant. But so Sam, you've seen a lot of organizations very closely. I know you told me that you help them build the revenue growth, etc. I'm sure you talk you dive into their P&Ls and everything. I'm sure you would have come across a lot of unnecessary clutter and complexity in their initiatives. So can you just touch upon those areas where you felt that this kind of complexity has killed the strategy execution?
Yeah, I think a great question, because what happens, when you deal with primarily with middle India clients, okay, and the entrepreneur clients, what happens as a people now, we respond to any problem at a surface level, and we keep changing our fundamentals. Okay, the moment we keep changing our fundamentals, what happens, we try, that leads to a knee-jerk reaction. That knee-jerk reaction then leads to, a question which is, it is important or urgent. And that leads to variable answers. So what happens, business fundamentals never changes. If you maintain that, then the simplicity is always maintained. What happens, we try to complicate ourselves. We try to, for example, if I give you an example in the marketing term, we say we want to do a brand trek brand trek, we want to do it. And in brand trek, we have many variables. Not necessarily all the variables in the brand trek is required for my business. But we try and use all the variables. That's where we complicate first thing. Second thing we forget always, the fundamental of the business is who's my customer and what's my customer journey. So I'll give this, example. I'll state 3 examples and I'll clarify this, Recently we got one brand called Country Delight in this country. Okay? They were fighting Amul of the world. When they came to us and when they were into the GTM stage, we said we need to be very fundamentally right. And we came up with the idea that, doodh ka doodh, pani ka pani. Because they were saying we are from tabela to table straight away. When you're fighting a larger guys like Amul, who is almost, giant, and it's almost, they are leading every house, that time to be in front of them, it's very difficult. So you need to be very clear. Second, when I spoke about the knee-jerk reactions, whenever we have any problem, we straight away jump into research kar dalo, price cut kar do, or we say, okay, SKU ko chota kar do. But we never think that what is the root cause. So when we were doing a session with Sony TV, so they are basically a content provider, and we are doing, we are conducting, they came up with the problem that we need one workshop. We said, no, why you need a workshop? What's the root cause? Then we use the Toyota 5 Whys model with them. And that's where we got the clarity, and they also got a fundamentally right that what's the root cause and what's the fundamental issue, and after that they got the idea what needs to be done. So what happens, sometimes we only complicate ourselves when we come to the knee-jerk reaction and we come to the variables. And third and the most important, I will give you an example where, in today's time, all D2C brands, they lead with the discounts. We have a client in a personal care segment, which is Aroma Care from South West. Very clear guys. Marwadi guys, they know the dhanda, fundamentals is very clear. They told us from day 0 one thing, we are not going to give any discount. Now lead the business. That's a problem. Because what happens, you are a D2C brand, all D2C brands are always working on the discounts, and you are not going to offer any discounts. Fundamentally, as a D2C brand, what other brands are doing a mistake, they start D2C and then they try to go to offline. Here, they were strong in offline. He said, I don't want to disturb my offline, and that's the reason I don't want to give any discount. And that's how that happened, and we, luckily with that kind of a clarity and the simplicity, and that kind of a fundamental clarity, we got to know, and we have maintained 28 to 32% of retention now. So, when in the business, your fundamentals are right, you stick to your fundamentals, simplicity has to happen. We ourselves only complicate this, and thank you, and you rightly said, SDG and all that, we complicate because we all, as a marketer, sorry, don't get me wrong, but everybody wants to earn their bread at the end of the day, so they have to come up with such kind of, terminologies and all that. But we are living, we are finally edge to edge, human to human. We also need to understand every सामने वाले को समझना चाहिए. And finally, in today's time, I think in morning also, one session and other session, everybody is talking about the customer and customer journey. Finally, these are the difficult time. More simplistic we offer and more simplistic we conduct our business, we'll earn revenue. Else we will be fighting this complexity at one end. the new generation customer at the other end, and the push from the bhaiya dhanda kidhar hai from the brand owners. So simplicity, when our fundamentals are clear, simplicity has to happen. That's what I want to say.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sam. And you know, this is something new that I'm going to write down. H2H. Everybody talks about B2B, B2C.
Yeah.
I don't know, B2C, C2D. I don't know. Yeah, whatever. But H2H, I think that is what we need to focus
Yeah,
on, right?
it's a human to human. See what happens, you know. So sorry, I'm taking 2 more minutes, guys. Sorry. So we always talk about B2B and B2C. See, finally, बरसों से एक चीज है relationship. In B2C, we talk about client relationship management, and in B2B, सामने सामने धंधा है. What is that? That's a relationship management. Here, to attract your customer, you come up with some schemes to loyalty programs and all that. Finally, we need to understand he's a human, I am also human. Human to human has to be connected. So in today's time, more than B2B and B2C, H2H will work, and that's the simplicity. Yeah.
Thanks.
Sorry? Yeah, exactly.
So we have another person who can talk a lot about H2H, that's Naveen. So, you know, Naveen, I'm very curious to know, first of all, about your background. I was very intrigued when I met you outside. And guys, I'm going to tell you a secret about Naveen once we finish this, so please stay tuned. I'm going to ask you about storytelling. We talked about content, we talked about business growth and all of that. I want to ask you about storytelling. All of this thrives on clarity, right? Whether we are watching a movie or reading a book, I think if there's too many characters, and when I say characters, not just personification, but ingredients to everything, I think the clarity goes amiss. So how would you, now coming to marketing and branding, how would you translate these complex brand messages, making them simple, and help people connect on that emotional front? Can you share something?
So I will do 2 things. One, I'll tell you a story. But before that, I'll tell you something about strategy. Everybody looks at strategy as something that they have to do as a company, right? The only strategy you must remember is to serve a customer and get him to pay money. The business exists for a customer, for a paying customer. If you have a free customer, that's a different, eyeball economy and all that. But the point is, you have to have a customer. If you don't define your customer, there is no business and there is no strategy. I'll give you a simple example. Anybody in the room has heard of a brand called Domino's Pizza? Please raise your hands. Has anybody gone to Domino's Pizza and asked for a burger? I'm asking. You get burger? You don't get. Has anybody gone to Pizza Hut? Have you gone to Pizza Hut and asked for a burger? Right? No, you don't. Correct? You go to McDonald's, do you get pizza in McDonald's? I'm just asking. Have you ever been to a Citibank school? Anybody's been to a Citibank school? We also teach. No, you don't, right? The problem is, in India, most businesses don't start with the customer. They start with their strengths. Saying, मैं ये कर सकता हूँ, and therefore I'll do everything. So I heard one day that Tata is shutting down their ATM machine business. I said, ATM machine? Bhai sahab, chhod do na. Let somebody else do it. Why are you building ATM machines? Because there is no focus. Because we don't know what the company stands for. They want to do everything. Right? They are in the jewelry business. They are in the shoes business. They are in the watches business. And return on capital employed is negative. So my question is, why are you not the number 1 pizza company in the world? Why are you not the number 1 burger company in the world? They say now, the saying, no 2 countries that have McDonald's outlets ever go to war. Check it out. No 2 countries in the world that have McDonald's outlets will go to war. Because who controls them? American capitalism. They'll say, bhai sahab, mat maro, mera burger ka dhanda effect ho raha hai. Right? So the point is, the businesses in the US are global businesses because they focus. They do only one thing and they do it right to the last customer in the world. Citibank has branches in 190 countries in the world. We don't have banks. We don't have HDFC Bank, which has a branch that even functions anywhere outside India. They are namesake branches, chotu branches, chotu business. When Warren Buffett was asked, which stock will you buy in India? He said, see, I like HDFC, but it's too small. Because we don't go outside India. Will you be apna customer yahin pe hai? And then HDFC launches there, it's cool. I'm saying, bhai sahab, ab bank ko number one banana world mein. What are you doing with the school? I don't understand. L&T, I have great respect for L&T. One of my first job offers as an engineer came from L&T. I didn't take it, that's a different thing. But they started engineering, brilliant, world-class engineering company. Right? Then they go to Infotech. Then they say bank license chahiye. I mean, come on. Bajaj Auto, I want to become a bank. Why? Because you got two-wheeler customers. My question is, instead of losing the bike battle to Hero and losing motorcycles, scooters, killing the scooter business, losing the motorcycle business to Hero, focus on that. But they are the most, well-managed finance company. And they want to become a bank. From where you start, where you end. But look at the US again, NVIDIA, right from beginning, he went bankrupt. He lost customers. He didn't have anybody taking his phone calls. He focused on making chips that are hyper fast. He said, एक ही काम करूँगा. Intel बनाता है chips, right? IBM server बनाता है. Intel makes chips. AMD makes chips. I will make chips which are faster than the fastest Intel chip. Simple thing. I'll raise capital. I may lose my shirt, lose my house. I'll just make chips faster than. And look at what happened. One day, AI came. AI said, boss, एक question मुझे 30 seconds में answer करना है. I do book reviews, right? When I do book reviews, I put it in AI. I put in AI, in 30 seconds, AI gives me a 2% conversation of the book review, written book review, a 2% conversation. Why? Because NVIDIA, that guy was ready with a chip. When time came, the only thing he does is that chip. Tomorrow AI goes away, NVIDIA out of business. But he said, koi baat nahi. But that's the only thing. So I think the fundamental thing, two things about strategy. One is, who is the customer? Be extremely clear. Don't become one huge, giant trying to focus on too many things without any customers and without any return on capital employed. Second thing, focus. Focus so it hurts you, so it pains you. Now, just to answer one part of the question that Shafaq asked, which is, what do I do? So I make films. I have a simple strategy. And I'll explain to you in 5 lines. I make regional language feature films. Okay? So around my business, because I came from Times of India, a lot of people wanted to do a lot of Hindi films. And I said, no, I'll do only regional language feature films. I'll start a fund. The fund does only regional language feature films. Simple strategy is, I've got 5 Lakshman Rekhas. Why do I have 5 Lakshman Rekhas? Because Lakshman ने एक Lakshman Rekha बनाया और सीता चली गई और रामायण ही बदल गया. Right? तो 5 बनाए हमने ताकि हमारी सीता बाहर न जाए. तो first Lakshman Rekha is I will do only regional, which means when Anurag Kashyap comes to me, we have a chai. When anybody comes to me, we have chai, coffee, biscuit, etc., wine. But we don't do Hindi films, very clear. Second, we don't do content for television. Margin नहीं है, इज्जत नहीं है, पैसे नहीं है, तो काहे को करना? गधा मजदूरी तो करना नहीं है. So that we don't do. Third, we don't do content for OTT. We don't have creative liberty. We don't get the IP. Why should I make content for OTT if every IP is belonging to the OTT platform? No. I want to own IP. I want to be my own film. So third Lakshman Rekha. No OTT. Fourth, we don't do, because regional language बोलने के बाद इंडिया में तो 28,000 regional languages हैं. सब आगे खड़े हो जाते हैं. भाई साहब रीजनल करे, डोगरी में पिक्चर बनाओगे, सिंधी बनाओगे, ऐसे रहे तुम्हारा पॉपुलेशन इतना कम है कि मैं अगर बनाऊँ भी, पैसे भी डालूँ, मेरा return is 0. So I don't do films which cost more than 5 crore. Which have a population, which the audience population is not more than 3.5 crores and which cost more than 5 crores. So that's my 5 Lakshman Rekha strategy. Simple strategy, I focus on the core, an absolute force. So today, if anybody asks anybody saying who does regional films in India, they'll tell me. Because I do only regional, I don't do Hindi, and everybody's clear about that. Right? So as long as your strategy is focused and clear, and no matter what comes, what force comes, don't budge. You will get somewhere. As long as you know there are audiences, firstly. What are you doing? You're doing it for the audience. Simple rule number 1, find an audience you can serve. And second, serve them. That's it.
Super.
Thank you.
You've just given like a return on capital invested to people.
There you go. Thank you so much.
5 crores to 3.5, 1.42. Super. I'm going to tell you a small story and I'm going to break the circuit. So this was back in 2010, and back then I had like hair really long, all right, and probably better than this. And I told my cousin that, I need a shampoo. I'm not endorsing any brands. I'm not going to mention them. And I said that it says that, and get the red color bottle and the white one, and it says shampoo meant for dull, dry, damaged, and whatever, all of that hair. And my cousin says, your hair is pretty good. Why do you want that shampoo? And that got me thinking that, my hair is nice. I really don't need a shampoo that is meant for dull, dry, damaged, not lustrous hair. And I realized, look at the affirmations that we are using in our products, all right, to communicate to people that we don't have this. We are thriving on lack, all right? And that is creating these complex emotions. And what I did, so I've worked in manufacturing throughout my career. So back then also I was in engineering and marketing and business development. I went to office and I redesigned my brochures and flyers and content and everything, because back then I had moved from engineering to marketing. And I said that, no, we're going to talk about continuous improvement and how our products are going to support that. We're going to talk about how our products and solutions will support innovation. We're going to talk about how our services are going to, help with the quality and the excellence for processes. So speaking about B2C, people to people. Now I'm going to manufacturing. My next question is for Puneet. All right? And so Puneet, the thing is that industrial buyers are absolutely technical, right? And very detail driven, where you have to give specifications and the nth level of detail to understand. So how would you really strike that balance between simplicity in the messaging and the technical depth that your content would have for these specific segment of buyers? Throw some light.
Sure, and thanks for asking this question, because this probably my answer will be slightly different from what we had been hearing since the morning. Before I answer the question, I'll just give a context that, I'm coming from an industry which is manufacturing industry. We make construction equipment. The minimum ticket size is 30 lakh rupees, and the equipment is meant for creating livelihoods, delivering projects of the real world, right? So therefore, the customers, as you rightly said, are not buying this product just for the sake of buying. I mean, we are still far from, do-it-yourself kind of range, which is there in the Western world. In Australia, you see still people buy to mow their garden, they still buy equipment. But in India and developing economies, people buy to deliver a project. And in all fairness, the customers are more knowledgeable than us about those equipments, because it is their livelihood, it's their performance, their balance sheets are dependent upon them. So the challenge is, and then, there is a layer of technical details and operational requirements, and the customer is knowledgeable. So how we crack in our industry, and probably very similar in the commercial vehicle industry also, is basically a three-pronged strategy, The first is the visual content works. The visual content which is based on real life examples. The real life examples of the real customers in the real situations. And those examples, the narratives told through those examples which are outcome based. So if those narratives are told which are experienced by the real life customers in a real life situation, convert into a visual output, and tell the story in the regional language. So that's the, I would say, toolkit of the first pillar of the toolkit.
Yeah.
How to make it simple, because the customer knows, and it's a no-nonsense communication happening, right? So that's the first thing. And I have my own experiences, why the regional language I was, specifying so much, because in India specifically, and since I'm also looking after the Asia Pacific market, it's even difficult to have the same message in different languages communicating the same meaning.
Yes.
And I have burned my hands myself. I converted there's a Thailand, in Thailand there's a New Year festival called Sankran. We created a, WhatsApp creative in India. We just created 2 kids, and in that festival they play a lot with water, and it's a national festival. So we created a WhatsApp message with some kids throwing water, and the background we just put a temple, and we thought it's a simple message. and it backfired. Why? Because it came back saying that in Thailand, you don't go to temples in wet clothes. So it was a disaster. I mean, I learned it. So that's why the regional language and the regional nuances become so very important. So that's the first pillar. The second pillar is in manufacturing sector, your entire value chain should be convinced and should be aligned. So it's a cross-functional alignment which is needed. So if I'm running a campaign which is targeted to the customer, but my supplier is not aligned, if the manufacturing guy who's making the machine is not aligned, or my engineer who's designing the machine is not aligned, I think the campaign will fall flat. It will not live through, and probably therefore it will not connect the customers on the emotional level. It will be only just lip service. And third, I think, is the campaign has to be a long-term and an integrated campaign. It's not easy in a sector where, as you said, human-to-human relationship, and if it has to connect with the other human on emotional basis, then it has to be sustained, and I should be coming from all the angles. So so we just ran a campaign, and I'll just take a minute. So from 1st of July, there is a emission norm changes happened in India, and post that all the machines are at the similar level, right? So there is, from a product standpoint, there is very little differentiation which one has. All the products are very, very similar. So we realized this situation and we launched a campaign in January, 6 months ahead of this change happened. And we ran a campaign which is primarily targeting to connect with the customers on emotional level, platform. Moving away from product, and we launched a campaign called KS Ka Bharosa. And then we spoke to a lot of people. We understood what is that, why my customers are buying what I'm selling and continue to buy. And that Bharosa thing which came as the primary thing, and it was also simple, it was easy to translate to all the at least Indian languages, and people could relate to at various levels. That campaign actually, and then we made it an integrated campaign, offline, online, mementos, factories, suppliers, everywhere. So simple, no jargon, Bharosa, KS Ka Bharosa, simple campaign, connecting all the aspects, and then converted this to real life stories. That actually worked. So this is my toolkit of making a communication simple but straightforward.
Absolutely. And I think in the manufacturing fraternity, which is so non-glamorous, we don't have anything like suppliers and customers. We are all peers. So working in a very non-glamorous space. So that's okay. My next question is for Ankesh. All right. But a very highly useful industry, of course. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, we are the backstage celebrities, people like him and me.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, my next question is for Ankesh. And okay, so Ankesh, I'm actually very intrigued and impressed with the entire portfolio that you're managing. I want to understand, given the network that you have, etc., how is it that you make sure that your strategy stays simple and you have that very thought through detailed execution plan?
Yeah, so I think I was just listening to the previous panel. I think a lot of jargon is already being used. I think, and most of this jargon, people are talking about future of AI.
Yeah.
And before November 2022, nobody had predicted, not even Gartner of the world and IDC of the world have ever predicted AI is going to be like this. And then we are sitting here and talking about future, what's going to happen in the next 1 or 2 years. That's, I think, too much. So I think the way, with this complex network, and we are into distribution, and you pick up like any IT brands and any tech brands, what you use, including all these AI companies that you talked about, we are the distributor. I think what we focus on, I think many people said that, the fundamentals, your basic fundamentals remain same. I remember one of the forums, somebody was asking Piyush Pandey, who was my first boss, may his soul rest in peace. So somebody asked him, with so much of digital coming, this coming, what will happen to creativity? He said, customer, if you understand your customer, if you know how to communicate with the customer in most simplistic way, no matter what kind of media will change. We don't know tomorrow whether this will be, even OTT will be there or mobile will be there, something else will come. But if you know how to communicate in a very simplistic way to customer, make your brand understand, I think that's what he did with all his campaign. That will remain change. people talk about, we are living in an Instagram generation where the attention span is so low and everything, but still we see there is a huge, great content. If you have a great content, like he's creating a lot of in regional language, I was very impressed by his, the work he's doing. If you have a great content, people will watch 4-hour show, 5-hour shows, the same Netflix, 10 seasons, 12 seasons, people consume that. So the crux of Connector, make it simple. And for us, we don't manufacture any product. We do not sell to the end customer. We take product from the manufacturers like Dell, IBM, Microsoft of the world, and then we sell it to the channel partners who sell it to the end customer. So what we value that, okay, we are the very integral part of it, because we take care of all the pains of stocking the product, supply chain, payments, and everything for vendors. And then we also train, create a network, again, do the supply chain, do the channel partners, make them enabled, make them empowered so that they can sell to the customer. So the way we simplified it, we created a platform, our in-house platform called Xvantage. So there are 3 parts of those platforms. One is for vendors, one is for customers, one is for our own employees. And we integrated it. So the crux of matter is, I think everyone will agree with some way or the other, whether it's manufacturing or services and everything, ease of doing business. We are in a business of ease of doing business for our vendors and for our channel partners who sell it to the customer.
Yeah.
So that's how we do it.
Wow, this is amazing. I don't know how many of us really hold inventory, but holding inventory, it costs the organization. And if anybody is really curious to know how do you get the ROI on that, I think that's a conversation that you can have in the lounge with Ankesh. Thank you very much. All right. So we'll go to Promit quickly. And so, Promit, all right, we're talking about behaviors. The previous panel also spoke about, understanding customer behavior is one of the most complex things, etc. But tell me something that, learning and skilling platforms, of course, they need to incorporate a lot of human psychology, understanding how these complexities work with behavioral changes, etc. So how would you simplify these value propositions and suggest that organization can adapt to simplicity here?
Okay, so just to give a context, so I'm from this company called Nullscape, and we do learning and development experiential simulations, right? So the first challenge that we have is that we are selling, like our target audience is HR people from enterprises, and I know there are people in the audience who are probably in HR. They are a difficult bunch to sell to, right? Because they definitely, they have a very strong understanding of learning and development. They've done it, and the thing is, you're basically going to them and saying that, what you're doing, you should be doing it like this and doing it better.
Yeah.
Right? Which is again a tough thing to do.
Normally tells people.
Exactly, the tables are turned now. But I think that at the core, yeah.
What was the need for your product, for DHR? They're already doing that in some
Yeah. I'll tell you. So the need is basically, like, think of it this way. So all these companies, they need to skill and train their people, right? And most of the times, it's like a checklist, right? So basically, they say that we typically sell to large enterprises. So they'll say, I have 1,000 people who need to be skilled in, say, maybe company culture. Or they'll say that, I have first-time managers, they need to be skilled in leadership. Most of the times, there's like a course which will have like 5, documents you need to go through. End of it, you give a test, and you're done. It never sticks. So they would always come back and say that, okay, we are doing this training, but we still don't see any needle movement in what's happening, right? So the whole concept of learning through experiential simulations is the fact that you're simplifying this whole process by making it relatable. Now, you think of it this way, how have you learned most of the things that you do right now? It's by on-the-job training, by doing it, right? So we focus on learning by doing. We say that we are bridging the gap between theory and practice. So making it relatable is something that, you know, makes it sell. And the moment we say that, okay, think about it, how you got to where you are right now in your job. Everyone, like I'm sure everyone here, everyone there will say it's on-job training. Yes, we learnt in college, but that's not really what got used, right? So we replicate a day in the life of a leader, things like that, and then obviously make it interesting with gamification and, you know, nudges and things like that. But again, I think one of the things that really works is, see, in terms of learning frameworks and things like that, there'll be multiple frameworks, right? And it's like if you follow cricket, right? There is a classical way of learning, and then, you know, there's also an unconventional way which produces the same results. So everyone has different ways of learning. Everyone has different. So how do you personalize that and obviously communicate? But one of the challenges we felt was that experiential simulation as a learning tool was a newer field, right? So how do you make people understand it? So one of the things we did was we said that, okay, you know, this is like a flight simulator for learning, right? So flying, firstly, it's a serious job, but you need to learn things which stick to you when things of crisis come in. So we basically took that as a reference point. And if you see, reference points always help, right? If you say, we are the Uber of so-and-so, or we are the, you know, Spotify of so-and-so, or Netflix for so-and-so, it always helps, makes it easier to understand. So we did that, and that definitely helped. But just coming back to the broader topic of simplicity, I think there are times when we really overcomplicate things in the way we approach problems. So I personally really like being up to date with behavioral economics. In my previous avatar, I was heading marketing for a design and digital experience firm. In this, against learning and development, behavioral economics is very high. So, you know, you follow most of the guys like, you know, Daniel Kahneman, or, you know, you follow Dan Ariely, or one of my personal favorites is Rory Sutherland, who you know, is obviously one of the Ogilvy stalwarts, right? So he has this really interesting story where he says that, so there's this train which goes from London to Paris, and it probably takes about three hours to reach. And it had a very high traffic, passing through it all the time. And they were like, you know, we need to improve the experience. How do we do that? So they spent some £5 billion to improve the engine, improve the track quality, everything. And then they shortened the time from, say, 3 hours to maybe 2 hours, 45 minutes. Now, Rory Sutherland says that, you know, I cannot justify spending £5 billion to reduce 15 minutes of my time. I would rather spend maybe £500,000 and get like better food, better upholstery, better, you know, people serving, improve the experience that you get inside, right? So conventional thinking will say that, no, we need to make it faster because efficiency is what we are looking at.
Yeah.
But there are times when efficiency is not the ultimate objective, right? Simplicity or just looking at things. So he has this quote which says that the opposite of a good thing can also be a good thing, right? So basically changing the perspective that way, I think automatically simplifies the way you are looking at solving problems. And that's what we try and do in most of our offerings or marketing communications, dumbing it down to, you know, what say like a 10-year-old would do.
Yeah, I think that is, that's very well said. Like if you can make a kid understand, although they have a lot of knowledge nowadays, but I think you can do it for anybody.
It's that Richard Feynman technique, right?
Yeah.
Like you just, like what would a class 10 student do? Right?
Yeah, wonderful. I think the way you've said it, Pramit, very intriguing. Thank you very much for sharing. My next question to Saugata. I know, just a quick time check, we've spent like about 37 minutes into this session, a few more minutes, and we're going to have fun at the end of it, so just stay on. All right, Saugata, sorry. Question to you. Okay, so, you know, I think when I was looking at your profile and the kind of work you do, maybe you want to explain that before you answer this question. So I think a lot of stuff can really become overwhelming while people are executing, etc. So how would you really create that digital strategy that can be simple enough and avoids burnouts? I know I'm talking this, asking this question, feel free.
No, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And thanks for asking this question. Actually, the beauty of being a backbencher all my life and getting to to getting my chance at the end of this, almost at the end of this panel, is half your job is done. Actually, more than half is done, right? So what I've been doing is, just to keep it simple, just making notes, some notes from what everybody has been saying.
So
I'm
am I.
going to string them all together and hopefully sound intelligent to the few people who are left in the audience. Thank you for your patience, though. I'm like AI, yeah, but I don't
Yeah.
take 30 seconds, I take much longer, right? So that's one. And before I start, Naveen-ji, just a quick clarification. As a Tata man and being very closely associated with the sale of the ATM business, trust me, we knew what we were doing. Even when we started the business and when we sold it, we knew what we were doing. Okay? No, I worked for the company that sold and that ran the ATM business, Tata Communications, and also sold it at some point in time. So I couldn't resist because it's being recorded. So just wanted to make sure that the right things are on record. We knew what we were doing when we bought it, when we started it, and when we sold it. Okay? All right. So to your point, Shafaq, the role that I have is a very broad, general role. It's a horizontal role. I look after 5 different functions within marketing globally for Tata Communications. We are present in about 190 plus markets, and hence all the points that are being made about simplicity, sir, to your point about language, vernacular, and so on and so forth, everything is very valid. The beauty is that within the 5 functions that I run, one is always fighting against the other. Right, because they are stepping over each other's toes, and
Yeah.
to be honest, AI has actually complicated matters for us, right? So what I've been, and like I said, I've made some notes from what people have been saying. So, and this is basically what we put in practice, right? So first and foremost, digital is enamored with tools, right? So one key message in every conversation to every team member is put business goals first. It's not about amassing shiny new tools to have a lot in your kit bag, but it's
Super.
about delivering on the company's stated objectives. And what is your role in delivering those objectives? That's point number 1. Point number 2 is integration over expansion. There's no point in stretching yourself wide and thin, because at the end of the day, we have a finite number of dollars. I need to make those dollars get to the farthest that they can go, right? So integrate, create simpler processes, get the tools to talk to each other, right? And that is where this whole angle of collaboration also comes into picture. You create, one of the earlier panelists in the previous panel was talking about an MVP. One of the reasons why AI is still stuck in the state of MVPs and not getting into implementations is because of a lack of collaboration. Marketing makes something, goes to IT, IT says, are you out of your mind? Don't even stand here, get lost, and so on and so forth, right? So keep it simple, get the tools to talk to each other, create lean processes. The next one I would say is don't chase perfection. Because by the time you chase perfection, the window is passed. So adapt, and it again leads back to simplification and also the other point about aligning to the business goals, right? And last but not the least, I think all of us know this, automate repetitive tasks. We're talking about
Yeah.
digital twins, we're talking about tools like NA10, though no affiliation with NA10, but tools like that. Why? Right? Automate the repetitive tasks, free your human potential to think about tasks that are actually creative and strategic in nature.
Yes.
Right? And with this kind of a framework, we've been doing it almost for the last 1.5, 2 years now. And without going into numbers, I can say that we have seen performance criteria go up north by upwards of 15% and more.
Yeah.
Right? So that's my 2 cents to your question. I hope I've answered that.
I think it's more than 2 cents. Thank you.
I think, Saugata, wherein you mentioned about the speed, right? And then we were talking about you slightly mentioned about the decision making. I think that distinguishes a successful business from an unsuccessful business. That what's your speed of the decision, and
Like I
don't
said-
chase the perfection.
Like I said, we knew what we were doing.
Yeah. Of course. Now because being worked in the corporate sector for 20 years and now running my own business, I cannot agree more on what you just said. Do not chase perfection.
Thank you.
Decision making is the key. What is going to separate you? Take the action. Of course, it has to be calculated, but you have to take a decision. So yeah.
Thank you.
I want to add a rejoinder. Because this whole perfection thing is a very, it's an abused word. We all learned the word perfection, I think, from Amir Khan, right? Because he's Mr. Perfectionist. Amir Khan ko gali de sab, because Amir Khan makes one movie in 4 years. This is a lazy guy, one movie in 4 years. But the movie he used to make after the 4th year was a movie every single one of us set a new record. Because he would chase perfection. He would make that product with the bottom of his heart that would deliver the maximum bang of buck for all the investors. I mean, he's the guy who made the first 100 crore movie in India, the first 1,000 crore movie in India, the first movie that did 1,000 crores in China, right? But it took 4 years to make a film. People used to say, Guy, etc. So I think the jury is out on perfection, not perfection. I still believe the more you focus, you have to be, chasing only one thing so that you can do it well. That's it. As long as you do one thing, do it well, I think you'll get there. So by shedding, let's say, just the business, I mean, no debate here, but I'm saying the fact is that why do we not have Tata Communications? I respect a lot. It is there in 190 countries. If you go to the Tube in London, it is Tata Communications. If you go, I mean, there are cabs and hotels and Olympics and not Olympics, the marathons, all powered by Tata Communications, which is a great global brand. But that's what I'm saying become a global brand. The strategy should be focus, simplicity, and become great, rather than doing all things to all people, not perfectly, but just do it because you have to do it. I mean, that's my view.
Thank you. We have Sukrit and Nishit left. Please don't hate me. Sorry. I'll ask Sukrit and then I'll close with Nishit. So Sukrit, I'm going to use a jargon because I want you to help simplify it for the audience. Have you seen the recent DPDP?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen it the entire journey.
Okay, so you please help us understand what is this DPDP? How do you really help us understand the implications and how is it that we can implement in business? Top tips?
Sure. So before I do that, I wanted to actually bring out another element. I knew
Sure.
this question was coming to me, so I had something else also in my mind.
Yes.
We need to draw an analogy between business. I will go to my core business right now, which is cybersecurity, and marketing. If I can ask, how many of you in the audience play, or in the panel also play the game of chess? So how do you win a game of chess?
By choosing a partner who's worse than you.
Yeah. Choose me.
Any other answer? So you think 10 seconds ahead, right? You anticipate the opponent's move, okay? If I just change this, so if I answer this in terms of cybersecurity today, it is not by anticipating what the move is going to be. It's about making the person take that move, which is in your favor, and that is exactly what we do in business also. When we are looking at hyper-personalization, when we are looking at going simpler and getting the audience to get glued, we are actually wanting them to do the steps that you want it to be in your favor for, right? And that's where regulations come in. That's where I think DPDPA is what we need to understand. Because we have been talking about a lot of gimmicky stuff, jargons, and we were trying to do a lot of bundling. Now that is going to change. Now this act, which is now, it was enforced in 2023, but now the rules have come up. 13th November is when it came in, and there are some of the rules which are now applicable as on 13th. For marketers, what is going to be critical is going to be constant management, the most critical part. Because right now you are trying to communicate to your audience, you are bringing in more audiences through surrogate level of marketing, being involved. You are trying to, and I will be out loud here that we have also fooled customers multiple times to get them to sign up for things. That won't happen anymore because now it comes with a penalty clause. So the amount of money that we were making in terms of business growth is now going to get questioned at the board level because you're looking at penalties of 250 CR per instance. Please mind that it's per instance. It's not just the overall 250 CR. We have seen GDPR come through. We have aligned to it. And we have seen how the alignment have happened. I was part of another organization that time when this alignment was happening. They were given 24 months, out of which 20 to 22 months were used on thinking how it needs to be done. And the last 2 months were when you were going for tools, you were going for consultants, you were rushing into things. I think now we need to change. This act brings forth another critical aspect which GDPR didn't have, which is the data principle centricism. GDPR was more business oriented, this is data principle oriented. Please understand now we are going to fight it out even more closely when it comes to acquiring customers and retaining them. Because now what you are doing as a practice will be not only watched by the customer base or the consumer base, it's also going to be watched by the other businesses who are competing with you. Because one flaw, and you are actually going into the defamation mode, you are going into the penalties, which will reduce your go-to-market further. A few things, since we were talking about regional outreach, that is going to be another imperative here. Notices, like all of us will have retrospective audiences with us through acquisition throughout time. You need to give them notices. Now that notice needs to be in English and all the scheduled languages. It's not that you have done only one part and you're done with it. You need to communicate through digital means. in a clear and simple way. You cannot make it complex. You cannot fuel it with jargons. You'll have to make it clear, concise, and simple for them to understand, because the data principles will have the rights which needs to be communicated to them as well. So I think now the tides are changing. Apparently I will, while I shouldn't be, but I will still mention this, and I would welcome the audience there also. At DSE, the organization I represent, we do India's biggest cyber event. And specifically this year's biggest cyber event, which is AISS, we have conceptualized a CMO panel or a round table. We are actually calling it a round table, where we're going to discuss with the marketing community the same thing, that how they need to be ready.
Yeah.
Because it's not B2B or B2C anymore. It's about aligning at a national level.
They're very interesting. I mean, I would really love to see how it transpires further. Okay, let's.
I have a question here.
Yeah.
These are shifting sands. I don't think, chess is a great analogy. I don't think you know what's coming up 3 months, 6 months later. Yesterday at a different summit, I heard this word called scamscription. Not subscription, scamscription. So there are microdrama apps.
Yeah.
They say pay 1 rupee and watch 10 episodes. And then they say subscription follows, which is 699 rupees for 1 month. The moment you pay 1 rupee, at the same time from the account 69 rupees goes. Right? And there is nothing in the app that you can go back and say, where's my money?
Yes.
It's a scam. So it's scamscription, not subscription. So the point is, with ACT, this is a great act. I love the act, the fact that the act got made. But I'm saying that just like the chess analogy, you should not think 16 steps ahead saying, okay, now they're going to do this, and can we revise this in 3 months or 6 months instead of waiting?
I get your point. So, see, the most important part here is to understand that as citizens of India, we need to first understand privacy and then data protection along with it. I think that is where the gap lies right now. I have been doing a lot of awareness sessions as part of my role, and I think the biggest lacuna lies within us. We become complacent, we take things for granted. If you ask a CISO, he will say, okay, so Lakshman Rekha, right, we were talking about. I give it as an analogy in my sessions. While Lakshman Rekha is the starting point of Ramayana, it also actually brings forth cyber attack. It brings in all the elements of cyber attack that is existing today.
Yeah.
Because it brings in greed, it brings in fear. These are the two vehicles through which attacks happen. Now, when we look at institutionalizing things, we miss out on this basic part. Why? Because if I can ask all of you, and since we are marketers, we also will need to talk about it. How many times you have observed that you're talking about a particular thing and you are seeing ads of it, right? Now, earlier it used to be cookie tracking. Now, is it cookie tracking? The answer is no. It's audio, it's voice. Now, when you are capturing that kind of data, you're capturing with a disclaimer to everyone who's subscribing to it. Legally, you are all clean, right? But as an individual, if we are observing it, that means there is some flaw in our own practice.
Yes.
We have been, so European Union, we should thank them, right?
Yeah.
Not for bringing Type-C to iPhones, but also because of the laws. And now, that has this output, that iOS 13 and Android 12 onwards, you have privacy controls in your phone.
Absolutely.
How many of us are using it?
I think it's worth investing. It's worth investing in sessions that kind of give awareness, because otherwise it's a price you pay for ignorance. And what Naveen was mentioning, all of us who've used credit cards for transactions like these, please go back and check if there's an auto repayment somewhere, because even if you might have subscribed for 1 rupee, it'll be like you don't know that
you should have the RFID blocker with you.
Yes.
That is the most important thing nowadays.
Yeah. Cool. So DPDP stands for Digital Personal Data Protection. Just FYI. Have a look at that document.
Just to add to his European Union point, there's a fantastic law passed in Europe. It's called the law to be forgotten. You can write to Google and say, I want people to forget me. And by law, Google has to erase all your traces. Right to erasure. So this is a fantastic law. You can just, and this is Europe, no other country.
That is also condition apply.
Conditional apply.
Voluntary disclosures, there are a lot of queries coming from that standpoint.
But I'm saying the thinking, again, they're going so far, say you can write to Google saying, forget me, just erase my digital footprint completely.
Yeah.
Nobody can try. Fantastic law.
Nishit is going to snatch your mic also. Okay. So Nishit, we are going to close with this question, okay? So I'm going to talk to you about cloud and digital workplace solutions, which are anyway complex. So can you give us some information about the frameworks that can help you simplify that decision making, for the enterprise customers?
Sure. So when it comes to enterprise customers, right, it's a little different segment, and being from B2B, it's even more different, right? So the framework, it's not really framework, but I think the general process that we apply is about being a trusted advisor to the customer. So it's not about going and pitching your product. That is not, generally the approach. It's always about, being part of the journey and helping them in the transformation program they have, right? So if you look at any customer, right, any organization, for example, right, if they are talking about embarking on a journey, looking at a solution for their employees, for their organization, be it any domain, be it finance, be it legal, or in general for their employees, right? They have thought through about something with respect to their own business strategy. So being a trusted advisor means that you are gonna help them achieve their own business goals, right? And by being that trusted advisor means that you are gonna not go ahead and force fit a solution that may have a higher price value to jump up the overall revenue pack. That's not the objective, but being a trusted advisor will help you try to optimize that bit, but gain the trust that will help you get repeat business. So I'll give you a very simple example, right? When it comes to I'll not name the companies here, but one of the product companies came and sold a large global customer X number of licenses of their topmost layer, right? Now, of course, the client had money, very big customer globally. This product company was able to convince and sold all of their employees the highest tier of their license. We being, as I said about being a trusted advisor, we said if you look at and dissect, right, look at your employee profiles, right? X number of those employees are your frontline workers who are always on the move and do not access the web or the desktop application, right? They are always going to use the mobile application. So do they really need that topmost layer of license which brings in everything? Or can they probably look at the license which is just the mobile only? And things like those, right? Your branch, employees, they probably use it this much of it, and do they really need the highest layer of all the storage and every other bit? So the whole point here is that I'm driving here is that when you talk about enterprise customers and when you be their trusted advisor, it helps you in your long run because then they trust you in all of their future initiatives. And that I think is a very simple way of helping enterprise customers, right? Specifically because it's aligning to their own business strategy and growth.
Okay, super. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to read out everything that I've written on this paper, so please bear with me. I'm not going to do that. I'm just kidding. Okay, quick poll. Let's have some fun. All right. So question to the panel and the audience. Okay. So by 2030, do you think AI will take over to simplify and execute our strategies? Yes, no? Yes. Yes, everybody, yes? No. No? Why? Shikha?
We'll complicate the hell out of it. And we are yet to see AI governance to come in.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you very much. Okay. What will you eliminate first? Jargon, complexity, or hierarchy?
Jargon.
Super. Hierarchy? Everyone takes decision. Everyone is a thinker? Yes? Hierarchy. Okay. All right. The last one. And this is for, all the Gen Zs out there. Who is simpler, Gen Z or millennials? Gen Z. Gen Z? Gen Z. None? Okay, so thank you everyone. Thanks for your patience. And that's all for now. To the next one.